Support for the Living Wisdom podcast is provided by In Touch Pharmaceuticals, a long-term care pharmacy committed to meeting the specialized pharmaceutical needs of their clients. Visit intouchpharma.com. Well, welcome into the Living Wisdom podcast. I'm Christine Kirsten alongside Patrick Pingle. He is the CEO of Hubbard Hill. We're so happy to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Oh my gosh, it's wonderful to be here with you.
So much fun. So as you guys know, we have done a lot on dementia. We still have all of those videos waiting for you. So if Facebook's where you check it out, those are up there. Wherever you get your podcast, you can check out previous episodes. But we were doing a little bit of thinking here, and we thought, let's expand this a little bit. This is still going to apply to people who are walking in their dementia journey, but this is also so many others that we could help impact. What we want to talk about with you, you have a really interesting story about what brought you to Hubbard Hill. And I love that you're going to share this because I think the number one thing people have come up to me and said, I feel so much guilt housing my loved one. When do you know it's the right time? How do you know this is the right place? And we're going to spend some time talking about that.
Fantastic. I love talking about this.
Let's do it. Let's talk about your journey. How did you
My
get yourself
journey.
here?
Yeah, I think, something that's universal that I found is that people have almost an innate fear of being placed in a facility. And, I know as a child, I was uncomfortable visiting a grandparent or even, friends and being around a senior population. And, some of this bad reputation is quite deserved. And so I had that same discomfort, I would say. But then I had a moment in my journey. I was 20 something, and I was actually I was invited down to be part of the restoration of the island of Grenada in the West Indies. This was after the American forces had partnered with Pan-Caribbean forces, and we really didn't. It was a quiet war. We didn't really understand it. I remember I was 18 when it happened. Reagan was the president, and so afterwards we realized that it was a communist base, and they had taken over the country and used it as a puppet regime. And I don't want to go too far down this track, but I was invited down to try to work with the youth to try to help them come back to the church. And, what I found was a devastated country, third world country. And it was utterly transformative, as you can imagine. But the biggest thing that happened with me is I thought I was going down to work with youth. And 60% of the population was 60 and above. So I was deep diving into life with seniors. And I didn't know that was going to happen. And I fell in love. I just developed this affinity to seniors, just a deep respect and a desire to serve them. It was part of my faith journey to be service-oriented and how I was raised. And so I knew that I was going to do some kind of service. And so that's where the seed was planted. Then I came back to the States and pursued healthcare administration.
It's interesting when you get that taste of different cultures, right? That value their seniors. It sometimes feels a little bit more than we do. Like the respect just in the community for these individuals who just experience life so much more and live through some really major things that have happened in our country. And you see families living with elders and you see just this respect. Do you feel like that's a lot different here in the States?
It is, and it's unfortunate. And it's part of, I love that you pinpointed that. It's part of the transformation that occurred with me is I had experienced that in my own family culture, but I knew it was not pervasive in American society. And it was in this third world country. Seniors were elevated. Seniors were very central to everything that was going on. And they were in a lot of leadership. And in this case, because of the war and the impact of that, they were very highly engaged in raising the next generation. So I worked very closely with them. And so that was part of my drive is coming back here and trying to bring that culture you just know it's right. and the richness of their culture because seniors had that role. And that's part of what I started to pursue here.
It's interesting. My grandparents have passed away at a young age. I didn't really have a lot of interaction with grandparents, so I never lived through really that moment of where's grandma and grandpa? Where are they staying? Let's go visit. I had a great aunt that we went to go visit. And to be quite honest, it was a scary experience for us. Our great aunt Ruth, she stayed at a facility where we are from Chicago. And my sister will always talk about a time where we were there and we were walking down the hall and a woman who was in a different room started screaming out, Victoria. And my sister's name is Tori. It's Victoria. So as a young kid, she was terrified because, oh my gosh, somebody was calling for her. So that was her experience. I remember the smell of the food. I remember the look and the smell of the food.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me. So I think you're right. I think there's maybe a lot of guilt that surrounds this conversation about, is it time for a loved one? Because these images we may have had as younger kids or our experiences don't really create a happy
Right.
environment.
Yeah.
That kind of, I mean, you've seen so many different places.
Oh, absolutely. And I should tell you, I've been 34 years in senior care
Yeah.
and worked for 4 other facilities before landing here for the last 20 years. And so, yes, getting back to that, my experience is it's critically important for us when we're creating an environment for people who live here, we serve, that's comfortable
Yeah.
for every generation. And unfortunately, this is part of what was my driving passion in entering senior care, is that the most nursing homes and senior care facilities have historically been built on a hospital model. So if you think about the efficiency of providing care in a hospital, they thought that was the emphasis on the clinical care people, not creating a living environment that would be, would foster life and a place where you want to be. It was to provide efficient clinical care, which is, that's why most of those experiences, like going down a long hallway as a child, hearing someone calling out, happened all the time because it's a horrific environment to live in.
Yes. And like the vitamin carts, right? Or that is
Yes.
that's going down.
All clinical. And so that's what's burned in people's minds and their experience. And the smell, because that you talked about, because it was institutional, it's cleanliness, it was chemical, it wasn't the dining experience that everyone has growing up in it through their life, and they think that's what it's going to be.
Why do you think that was? Do you think it was just easier?
Yes. The focus was, yes, it was following the hospital facility design model.
Yeah.
Efficiency, so a one nurse could provide care effectively from person to person without covering too much space. And there was no thought given to living space, just rooms. So we've come a long way. That's the good news.
Okay, good.
But when I entered 34 years ago, I have to say, I knew that this was a horribly broken model.
Yeah.
And, with my faith lens, and believing that my brothers and sisters deserve our best.
And they deserve more.
And they deserve more. They deserve better. So I went to work thinking, I'm going to change this, right?
How'd that go?
Not so good. Okay, right. And so after 1 year of working in the classic for-profit, large corporate model, which was the place I needed to get into the industry as a greenhorn, without experience, I compromised and took that first job. And after less than 1 year, I came home and said to my wife, I made a horrible mistake. I can't make a difference. This is such a broken system and I can't be part of it. I wasn't sleeping well at night because it's not designed in a way that was humane and that fit my values and what I believe people deserve. To which she said to me, "You get back there," and she goes, "There are good people, there are good organizations. You just got to find them while you're employed." Okay, so
Love your passion.
so
We got to bear our bills.
and sure enough, Christine, there are good people, there are good places, but you have to really dig. You really do, and a lot of that is, if I was going to make a change, I knew I had to find a place that valued the quality of life of the residents who live there, and we're not just into the providing efficient clinical care,
Yeah.
right?
That's interesting because it's such a topic, and my husband and I talk about this all the time. If you ever have a question why something is done a certain way, follow the money, right? So and that's kind of what I'm hearing you say when you right, we all have a business to do, but when does that need for money cross over? Because you're envisioning these
Right.
men and women who really live this life. This placement shouldn't be, all right, that's it, close the door, lock up the key. No, this should be a place where you truly, in my perfect world, it would be the place where you are at a resort and you live out your best days with everything you need, with the friends, with the food, with the hopefully alcoholic beverage here and there. I know if that's allowed,
Yes.
but with a church and a community and things to do and things to play and things to see, like you've earned it.
What you're
You've
describing,
earned it.
what you're describing is what you've experienced thus far every day that you've been on this earth. And that shouldn't change through your last days. And yet, the medical model wasn't paying any attention to that, wasn't putting weight on that basic human needs. That's all you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other piece of this is focusing on the whole human being. Now here's what I've come to learn.
Yeah.
If you ask anyone who's living in any facility, what they really care about, it won't even make the top 10 for them to talk about their clinical care or their med pass, right? Is that important? Yes. Is it important to the individual, the human being who has all the same needs and desires that you just described? Absolutely not. So that quality of life is you're not going to suddenly change that definition when you become 80 years old and say, no, I really just care about the medications. And you you care about relationship. You care about access and freedom. You care about the quality of your dining experience. You care about the same things that you care about now. So when you put that lens on,
Yeah.
then you create a place like Hubbard Hill. And I've been able to be in an organization that values the quality of the life of the residents who live here. And so we work tirelessly to afford people access to that same life.
Yeah.
Now, there's unique challenges,
Yeah.
right? You start diminishing a little bit on your eyesight and your hearing and maybe your ambulation. And so we have to pay close attention to making environments safe and comfortable and accessible. And so, a place like Hubbard Hill, when you come here, you know a lot about us, as you would any facility, by pulling up and saying, what do the grounds look like? But not just what do the grounds look like, what's the access? So that people can not just look out the window, but they can be engaged in nature in the same way that you are. Probably at the end of this day, you might go out in your backyard and want to sit on the deck or take a little stroll in the neighborhood, right? Or get your hands dirty in the garden in the spring weather, right? Well, you're always going to have that desire. So it takes a little bit more to afford those same, um, luxuries. There you go. Normal activities of daily living that you do without thinking about it. Okay.
How did you get to Hubbard Hill? So we talk about your passion a little bit, but as you're searching while you're still in this other job that you don't like,
Right.
how did you even find Hubbard Hill?
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, people who are in this business, it is a business, they know each other, right? There's, there's a camaraderie. It pulls a certain type of person, caregivers. And so, this is a tight knit community of people, and we network because those who last, who are in it for the right reasons, they always want to learn and improve and talk and share ideas and collaborate because it's not about their industry. It's about the people we serve.
Right.
And so that said, um, I had someone, frankly, who was aware this job became open here and said, "Oh, you got to take a look. This is a special place."
Yeah.
And they knew me, and they knew that the passion that I had and the lens that I was approaching my work with. And so I was really blessed to have a buddy who was looking out for me. That said, I had really experienced some good. I had some good experience with good people and some good organizations. But when this opportunity came to work in a completely independent nonprofit facility that fit my mission, and my own values, my faith journey. This is a faith-based place. I jumped on it, and this 20 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that creates a challenge, right? Because we're talking about for-profit and nonprofit. So now your hands are tied on fundraising for all these amazing amenities that
Right.
Hubbard Hill has as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting in that I think people have a misunderstanding of what that means, and frankly don't pay too much attention to it. But if you can imagine, everyone understands what a business is, a for-profit business, and and of course, all businesses have to make a profit.
Right.
The real difference is, why are you making? What do you do with those profits that you make? Do you pour them back in? And a nonprofit pours them back into the mission. So those profits go right back into the quality of the life of the people who live here and who work here. So they have the tools and support to serve at a high level. And in the for-profit world is focused, they exist to maximize the profit.
Right.
Now, which is fine. There's nothing inherently bad.
CEO on the yacht.
You got,
It's in the Bahamas. Here.
you got it. You got it. And the difference is, when you're doing that, then all your decisions are ultimately, even if you're trying to do decent by people, your reason for existing is for profit. And it goes to stakeholders, usually Wall Street or capital venture groups. The non-profit difference is that it all stays right here.
That's interesting.
And it doesn't go to the CEO's pocket. It goes to the quality of life. And that's why Hubbard is a 5-star place. And a lot of people can't believe that it's affordable.
Yeah.
Because they aren't used to seeing places this nice, this vibrant to live in. Because, for-profits aren't going to put that money back into the facility.
You're teasing us with a carrot here. So let's dive to Hubbard Hill. What do you guys have to offer? What sets you apart maybe from other facilities?
Yeah, I love it.
You're like,
The nonprofit difference. So when we talk about the reason for existence, that's a mission, right? So our tagline that I love, it really captures the spirit and the heart of this place. We are founded by children of faith to honor their parents. Now let that sink in for a moment. You don't hear that very often in the world, to honor their parents. Understanding we're speaking into the fear and the guilt often that children have, that you care enough to put them in this culture, the very best, because they deserve the best. And when I say the best, everyone has those kind of claims. What I really mean is, we have a different lens. We do things for a different reason. Our whole focus for existing is for the people, to honor their life, to esteem them, to respect them, to celebrate their final years, and to assure that we make that the best experience possible for them. That's why we exist, period. And so that changes everything that we do. And it means that when we're always seeking to understand what are the needs and desires of the people we serve and the families that we serve. And they're changing all the time, right? From generation to generation. And so the quiet, silent generation, they were a little easier customer. But in the same way, I know, but to me, and so when you say they deserve our best, they deserve our best efforts to meet needs too. And so that means that we also are always learning. and changing constantly. We know that is a continuing care retirement community, which is who we are. And that means that there's people 55 and older who live in independent housing. And oftentimes you have people who are married, maybe different ages, and folks who usually come in a little later that, into their 60s. But that's a maintenance-free living in a neighborhood that's, when I say maintenance-free, this is also one of those things is that I mean maintenance-free. I mean, you can change your light bulb and you don't have another thing to worry about, and you write one check. And that's very attractive to people.
For sure.
What that equates to is stress-free living, to live the way you want to live.
Yeah.
And they come here not just because that's a beautiful neighborhood on our 90-acre campus, but they know that if and when they need services, we're here. And the same quality and value that they get there follows through to every service that they might need. So that means, they might go to apartment living where we have, licensed assisted living. And many people who are in that or in the apartments are still working a job and driving. They might need a little bit of support, or they just want to live more intensely in relationship and community, and have our restaurant style dining and just not have anything to worry about, which is home ownership is very stressful. And so there's something about just focusing on what you want to do when you want to do it with people that you're in relationship with and who know you. And as the needs progress, people are helping you progress through those and providing those services. And then, as you know, with the Living Wisdom Center podcast, one thing that we know is that there's a very significant amount of our population as people move into their late 70s, 80s, who are touched with dementia.
Yeah.
And that means this. Everyone on this campus, we have a very deep commitment to being knowledgeable and competent in caring for people at every stage and every type of dementia. And the hard thing is that it touches people in independent living, assisted living, and of course the Living Wisdom Center for Dementia Care, and in our healthcare center, and even people who come through short-term rehab stays, which is a big part of what we do here as well. We've got it all, and some people come for outpatient therapy and live in the village or live in the community, and so we're a very integrated community from 55 to the end of life.
I guess my question is, and this sounds amazing. I think about the style that's still out there. That clinical style is still very present. Yeah. And in my head, it's saying, well, because it's hard to get the staff. Like that model makes it easy to kind of say, hey, we got a place for you. We're going to give you your meds. We're going to do our best with what we got. Still remembering that it is a for-profit business. With Hubbard Hill, how do you keep the staff? How are you able to make sure that, Christine, who's staying in one of your places, has that comfort of knowing that Sally is going to be there when she wakes up and knows exactly how she likes to do this, who is able to provide the comfort, who has the skills, who is able to walk with me through this growing process of these elderly stages. What do you guys do to make sure there's just not this constant turnover, which really can affect older people who like their routine?
Yeah.
That's what they live on.
Yeah. It is about recognizing that as much as the marketing brochure might say, it's all about the residents. So your loved one, and yes, it is. But the high integrity places that can have a continuous high level, high standards of care and culture, you have to maintain staff.
Yeah, we do.
And you know that. I mean, you said it beautifully. And so here's the key. You have to value your staffs and give them the tools and support to do the right thing. You have to make sure you get the right people on the bus, right?
Sure.
And so you don't hire just another set of hands. You hire a heart. You hire someone who's got the values that are aligned with our values. And, if they don't, then you find out very quickly.
Totally.
And then if you have to be radically committed to having people who are living the mission.
Because it's hard, right? You have a
Oh,
body here,
right.
and now you have to start over.
You've got
To
it.
get by.
Yeah.
So you have to make the hard decision.
Yeah.
You're not going to get by.
Oh, you bet. So I talk
You
to,
get to do that.
I do. I talk to every person who comes to work, and we have about 260 staff who work here, right? Which is more than everyone else, frankly. So you have to have enough people. You have to have the right people.
Yeah.
And I tell everyone, we have a beautiful mission statement that's in a frame like every other organization. The difference here is that we look to that mission in every decision we make and say, are we being true to who we are and what we say we're going to do? And why we exist? If we're not, we got to shut our doors. And I look them in the eye and tell them that. I said, I'm not interested. And I hope you're not either. And being a part of an organization, and that to me, that's integrity. So you give people a sense of like, people want to have integrity. They want to do things at a high level, and they want to be valued and recognized for it. Most organizations don't.
No.
I say to them, when people ask, how's the strength of the mission of Hubbard? It can be defined by the last interaction they had with the last resident they served.
Every time.
They redefine it with every interaction. It's either alive and healthy or it's not. Day to day, based on how well they're committed to it, how well they live it, and keep themselves in check and to that standard. And a lot of it is lens, right? If you have the right heart, you have the right reason you're here, then good things happen. The other thing is, I would say, you can hold them accountable, me and anyone, and your coworker and your leaders, your supervisor, by understanding that if they are not depositing and investing in you and assuring that that we care, that they care, and that they've got your back, and that you've got the tools and direction you need from them that support to live that mission, right? Then it's also going to be a weak mission. And I say, hold us accountable.
Yeah. Did you ever think, looking back, that you'd be here?
No, it is crazy. It's, this might come up later in our conversation, but part of this is that the average length of stay or the life of an administrator is 2 years nationally. So 20 years is tenfold that. And
he just won't leave.
He won't leave.
We could try him for 18 years.
Yeah. But if you think of that, this culture I'm talking about, it takes longevity of leadership and a continuous, consistent messaging from the same leaders over a period of time to really, become real in the culture. And so
speak it.
there you go. So I have this freedom to do the right thing and to allow folks to set people free to do the right thing. And so this mission, the lives of people are changed and transformed because of how well they are known and loved, that we offer purposeful activity that's purposeful and meaningful to them, that lets them have those same choices in the litany that you started the conversation with about the things you care about, right? And so if that's a pretty rewarding mission, I got to tell you. And the other part of this, which is very sacred to me personally, is the end of life. It's sacred. Those moments and having that experience be a whole focus, so everyone knows it. And we rally around people, not only and with the families. We want to support them and be with them, but you become an extended part of family. And so to be engaged with people at that time and give them a beautiful passing is it's otherworldly. It's that's where you really experience the mission. And so when that happens, we have something in this organization called an honor walk. And when someone passes, the families come and they're here, and we greet the staff, and we walk together to the chapel, and we surround them, and we say a prayer of gratitude for the life of the person who just passed, their loved one, and for the opportunity to serve them. What an honor it was for us. And and sharing that sacred moment with the families. And that's the kind of culture and mission that it's rare.
Yeah.
That's what's kept me here 20 years.
That's beautiful. It's a necessity. Patrick, thank you for joining us. We're not done with you. We're still going to be having you air this podcast because you have so much information and knowledge. But for this segment, we appreciate you.
Thank you. This was delightful.
Support for the Living Wisdom podcast is provided by In Touch Pharmaceuticals, a long-term care pharmacy committed to meeting the specialized pharmaceutical needs of their clients. Visit intouchpharma.com.